This is the biggest scandal in America.
Shouldn't Americans hear from the President of the United States
For the last 4 years,
just hours from a shutdown?
Was not capable of fulfilling the duties of the office.
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals.
For 4 years, the unelected have been in charge of our country.
Republican needs to stop playing politics.
And kept it from the American people. It's an absolute scandal.
In this video today, we get to talk about another conspiracy theory proven to be true, and that is Joe Biden's mental decline. The Wall Street Journal just published a story yesterday exposing this entire scandal, claiming that Biden had been diminished since day one of his presidency. Also, Congress is shifting blame about the government shutdown to Elon Musk, stating that if the government shuts down, it will be because of him. These stories are more in this video, but let's start with that report. Okay, and here's that story: how the White House functioned with a diminished Biden in charge. Aides kept meetings short and controlled access. Top advisors acted as go-betweens, and public interactions became more scripted. The administration denied Biden has declined. Now, guys, before we go any further, we know this already. We've been saying this from day one. You have probably been thinking this from day one. So this is no shock to us. But for some reason, it's a shock to some people on the left and some people in the media. And it goes to show how disconnected they are. First, they're clearly disconnected from the average American and what the average American really wants in their government. And now they're also disconnected from what the leaders are really doing and how they're actually operating. And it's just sad because these are the same individuals that flip out on individuals like myself or others who are on X reporting the news as we see it. They call us misinformation. They claim that we are conspiracy theorists. However, the results continue to show that they have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm just going to highlight a few things out of this article. The first one is this: to adapt the White House around the needs of a diminished leader, they told visitors to keep meetings focused. Interactions with senior Democratic lawmakers and sub-cabinet members, including powerful secretaries such as Defense's Lloyd Austin and Treasury Janet Yellen, were infrequent or grew less frequent. Some legislative leaders had a hard time getting the president's ear at key moments, including ahead of the U.S. disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. Now, they're going all the way back to that moment. And again, the results tell the story, guys. I mean, you don't have to be a political scientist or some lawmaker or some, pundit on CNN to know and to see that something was not going correctly in the White House when Afghanistan went down. That's as clear as day. And later in the article, they go on to say that the strategies to protect Biden largely worked until June 27, when Biden stood on an Atlanta debate stage with Trump, searching for words and unable to complete his thoughts on live television. Much of the Democratic establishment had accepted the White House line that Biden was able to take the fight to Trump, even in the face of direct evidence to the contrary. Guys, I can read this entire thing, but let me just give you the bottom line here to all of this, is that Joe Biden was being treated in the same way that they treated Kamala Harris. She was not involved in the everyday decisions. She's heavily insulated. If you wanted to pick up the phone and contact Kamala Harris or contact Joe Biden, and you are an important individual in Congress or a lobbyist or part of the elites, it was not easy to actually do so.
Scott Jennings, you were just talking about this, so I'll go to you first because I know you have a lot to say, but this piece does show Biden having all of these sort of walls up.
Yeah.
And the walls kept getting higher and higher as the years went on.
This is the biggest scandal in America. And the level and volume of people who dedicated themselves to lying to everyone at home about this man's condition for 4 straight years up through this summer is breathtaking. It's a scandal of epic proportions. And it's a fair question to ask: who is running the country? Who has been running the country? And as I said earlier, if you're worried about Donald Trump's advisors having influence, for the last 4 years, apparently this president, duly elected, but this president was not capable of fulfilling the duties of the office. And his staff and the White House lied about it and kept it from the American people. It's an absolute scandal.
Look, I'll say 2 things. One is that I think Joe Biden, despite all this, had a very successful tenure. You may disagree, but
all right, so Scott Jennings is obviously dead on about all this, but right at the end, she claims that Joe Biden had a successful tenure. And this is the key issue I want to hone in on my initial reaction to this. is that's what's wrong with the Democratic Party. When criticism is offered up, the first thing that they go to is, well, we accomplish all these things first. And look what Biden did here. Not the actual issue that matters. It doesn't matter what you did on paper. What matters is we had somebody who's the leader of the free world, who was mentally diminished, and in all accounts, in a fair world, would have received the 25th Amendment. So what are you talking about?
I agree with your comments around somebody hiding the fact that Joe Biden was unable to do his job and casting all these fake narratives. But I'll also say those same stories came out of the Trump's White House also. Like when
And the Reagan administration.
There
was no Wall Street Journal expose.
There was a 2020 election. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
If there were, you call it
He
fake
lost,
news. That's
but I
the
haven't heard
difference.
him say that. Thank you for saying that, but I haven't heard him say that.
I don't want to. I think this is a Joe Biden conversation, but I mean, I think the point Jeff is making, we know for a fact Donald Trump spent a lot of time in that space between the Oval Office watching television when January 6th was occurring.
Okay, but no
example.
one
So
is
that was,
saying they have to shut down the White House because he's not with it today. This man is awake 23 hours a day. He's clearly engaged. And the American people just elected him over somebody who was much younger, I will point out to you.
And there you go. Another prime example of what's wrong with the media today. What they do, instead of focusing on the actual issue at hand, that someone was the president of the United States and was not actually running the country, what they go to is, well, whataboutism? This is what the last president was doing. You honestly are going to compare Joe Biden's mental acuity to Trump? It's not even a comparison. We just witnessed not only the mental acuity, but the strength and resilience of President-elect Trump. So stop it, Abby Phillips, on that. And again, it just shows you how lazy they are when it comes to taking accountability and criticizing Joe Biden. I mean, they are still struggling to say something negative about the current president when it's well deserved at this point.
My question is this. We elect people for a reason. The elected leadership of the government is supposed to be making decisions. For 4 years, the unelected have been in charge of our country during critical moments. Mm-hmm. We don't live in a country where the unelected are supposed to rule us. We live where the elected are supposed to rule. My problem is for 4 years we were lied to about who's actually running the country. This is a problem.
So as you guys can see, there's multiple issues intertwined here with this story. Number one, it's how the media chooses to report the news in the first place, and it's why there's no trust for them anymore. And number two, why was Joe Biden elected to begin with? Why did they allow him to run? They know he had a mental issue. And also, number three, who's actually making the decisions here? This is why they're so scared of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and Trump, because he supports the idea that we need to cut the waste of these unelected bureaucrats in Washington. So definitely one of the biggest issues that the media is struggling with is reporting the news. And now they're crying about X being the number one source for it as a result of their incompetence when it came to covering Joe Biden. Watch CNN cry about this.
He's oftentimes relying on random anonymous accounts, these websites, these users on X who are trying to present themselves as the new CNN, the new New York Times, but have no research behind them, no backing, no institutional knowledge. And I understand that for Musk, that's really appealing. It's exciting on his platform, but he ends up misleading a lot of people. It is striking how he does seem to be learning about lawmaking in real time.
Okay, now before we go any further, let's hear from today's sponsor. Are high interest debt payments keeping you up at night? Well, with the Fed finally dropping interest rates, now is the perfect time to take control of your finances. As a homeowner, you can use the equity in your home to pay off high interest debt and put your family in a stronger financial position. American Financing has already helped thousands of individuals just like you do the same. On average, customers are saving $800 per month. If you add it up, it could be like getting a $10,000 raise. Here's the best part though. It costs nothing to find out how much you can save. Some loans even close in as little as 10 days. And if you could start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So don't wait. Call 866-890-9392. That is 866-890-9392, or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Devori today to see how much you could save.
And just a moment ago, he tweeted about all the coverage of him in the last 24 hours. There's been all these questions, Dana. Is he the real president-elect? Is he the shadow president? Well, Musk responded on X. He says the political and legacy media puppets are all echoing the same idea, parroting the same message, trying to drive a wedge between Trump and me, and Musk adds, they will fail. I don't think anybody's trying to drive a wedge except those Democrats who are saying it. Journalists are just trying to understand the relationship between Trump and Musk, because it's one of the most important relationships of the next 4 years.
We're literally calling it as we see it. Elon Musk put out on social media that he didn't like the bill. Then there was a statement from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and then everything fell apart.
Now, you guys already know what I'm going to say, right? Results tell the story. So you guys are calling it how you see it. You saw that Joe Biden was clearly mentally diminished, but you failed to report it. You knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was a real thing, but you clearly went along with the 51 intelligence agents at that time. You knew the border was not secure, but you kept regurgitating information that said it was otherwise. And we can go on and on and on about all the examples I could show you that would prove my point, but I digress. And let me just address this too. Nobody wants to be CNN, Dana Bash, or Jake Tapper. Nobody wants that, because you guys have proven time and time again that you're not really about reporting the truth. You're about pushing a narrative. And that's why the new narrative is that Elon Musk is the president, and he's the reason why the government is going to shut down. And here is KJP, the White House press secretary, saying just that.
Last question, Corinne, and I know you have tried to answer it several times, but shouldn't Americans hear from the President of the United States just hours from a shutdown?
What Americans need to know is that you have Republicans in Congress, in the House, who got in a way, who stopped a bipartisan agreement. They got in the way. They created this mess. And I said this earlier when I said, and you all know this, or you report this, it is not easy to get to a bipartisan agreement here in this town. And there was one. Both sides sat down. They came to an agreement, which is a good thing for the American people. We thought we were moving in that direction. And Republicans decided to instead listen and give space to their billionaire friends and not put the American people first. That's what is happening. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, let me just correct something. That's what they want you to see and believe, but of course that's not really there. And I find it so rich how they say Republicans are relying on their billionaire friends. Are we forgetting there's a guy named George Soros and so many other billionaire individuals that support the Democratic Party, and particularly Joe Biden? Are we just forgetting that? Are we also forgetting that Joe Biden still is the president? Why is he not speaking to the American people about the shutdown? Where has he been? Who's running the country? And just maybe they should stop worrying about Elon Musk and get back to worrying about the person who's currently the commander-in-chief. And of course, instead of focusing on the real issues, they want to put blame on the Republicans so people aren't focused on this bombshell story about Joe Biden. Check this out.
Democrats are calling Elon Musk President Musk or Co-President Musk. What is the White House's and President Biden's reaction to this labeling of Elon Musk, and whether or not House Republicans are listening more to this billionaire than the president-elect?
What I can say is congressional Republicans, at the direction, and you all know this, you all reported this, of President Trump and Elon Musk, are trying to pave the way. What they're doing is trying to pave the way for $5 trillion to our national debt. That's what this decision does. You're talking about with cuts for billionaires, slashing Social Security, slashing Medicare, slashing Head Start. Congressional Republicans did what they did because of what the president-elect said and what Elon Musk said. That's the reality. You guys all reported this. That's why we are where we are today. So this is for Speaker Johnson to fix. This is the mess that he created. He needs to fix this. Again, a bipartisan agreement. There is a bipartisan agreement.
Now, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. And we're not in this position because of what just happened. We're in this position because about 100 days ago, you guys could have come to an agreement. But as always, the establishment on both sides of the aisle likes to wait till the last minute on this. And this is why we need single subject bills. We've been screaming it at the top of our lungs because it's common sense. But the White House is never going to say that, especially when Joe Biden is the commander in chief. And again, Where is he?
Scott Jennings, you hear the Congresswoman, she's putting the blame for this squarely on Elon Musk first and foremost, and Trump after that. And that would be the timeline of how this played out. What do you say to her?
Well, she let the mask slip right at the end. She said, who's the president right now? I mean, who's the president-elect? But she asked the right question first. Who is the president right now? Joe Biden, who we rarely hear from, and the Wall Street Journal reported today, has been diminished for the last 4 years, and we've had unelected people running around running the federal government, apparently. So if that is what they're worried about, if they're worried about people who aren't Donald Trump, running the government or having influence, I wonder where they've been the last 4 years. Now, this doesn't excuse anybody's behavior on Capitol Hill tonight, but I think it's pretty rich for Democrats to be worried about people who aren't Donald Trump having influence when the current president, a Democrat, is AWOL and apparently not able to execute the duties of the office.
Yeah, that really just sums up the Democrats' problem. They have no moral high ground, right? They're so obsessed with Elon Musk, instead of being obsessed with what's wrong with their party, particularly the current president of the United States. So this leads me to a question I want you guys to answer in the comment section below. Why do you think the media is so hesitant and reluctant to truly tell the truth about Joe Biden? They know he's been mentally diminished, but why are they waiting up to this point, and why do they continue to struggle to admit this? Let me know what your thoughts are about that in the comment section below. Now, later on today, we'll be dropping a big update about what's happening with the government shutdown. However, last night, all hell broke loose in Congress. You had Republican Chip Roy disagreeing with President-elect Trump about what should be included in this new CR bill, i.e. the debt ceiling. And let's just say it became very dramatic. So if you guys did not see that video and you want to check out that story and many others, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.